person has a story, but not everyone has a place to tell it. I'm Frank Swoboda. I've interviewed amazing people all over the planet. I want you to meet them. This week, the most interesting person you've never heard of is...
Hi, I'm Grant Shipley, and I am the most interesting person you've never heard of because I have primarily been burrowed in right here in little old Spokane, doing things that I find interesting, and that leaves me not out in the world too much. And I really, no TV, and you're gonna have to come to see me, I guess, and that's why you've never heard of me.
Grant Shipley, thanks for being here.
Frank, thanks for the invite.
I mean, you really are the most interesting person I've ever met. I know I tell that to I say that about everybody that's on the show, but I mean, the entrance you made earlier, hopefully we're going to edit that together and show the world you in your rare form on your bike, because you are a Spokane legend.
It's odd, but I'm not exactly sure how it happened. It was never my intention.
Okay, so, if I mean, I met you because you're a neighbor of mine.
Correct.
But I would see this guy riding around on his bike, and I'd hear this music, and I'm like, that's not the Ice Cream Man. But it sort of had the same vibe. And you never know what music you're going to play necessarily, right? And you come with this like machine, and you're happy and waving, and I was just like, who is that guy? And then I found out you were my neighbor, which was even cooler. So where did you get the idea of the bike and the riding around and the music and honestly the joy?
Well, let's start with the bike and the idea. My brother wanted me to do RAGBRAI years ago, the Register's annual Great Bike Ride across Iowa. This is the 50th year this year.
Really?
So it's been going on a long time.
The RAG Ride.
RAGBRAI.
RAGBRAI.
Register's annual Great Bike Ride across Iowa. And the Des Moines Register.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So I kind of hemmed and hawed, and he did it with his son, and he got back and, bro, you got to do this. And so, all right, my oldest son, who lives in Portland, and I decided we'd do it. And we signed up and went back there and just went, oh, my God, this is amazing.
How many people? I mean, just thousands, right?
20,000.
20,000.
Yeah, and they are hoping this year to set a new record.
World record.
Yeah, Guinness record of over 48,000. So this year will be a big damn deal.
How cool would it be to get 50,000 riding on the 50th anniversary of
I know
the bike ride? So you're going to that.
So I'm going. I'm all registered. It's a months-long process.
When does
to
it
get
happen?
Signed up. It's the last full week of July.
Well, maybe that's right when this podcast will come out. It'll be
Could
perfect.
be, yeah,
Maybe we'll
yeah.
time that so that it happens.
So anyway, we did the first year. We came back and went, oh, he wasn't kidding, man. We got to do this again. So my son lives in Portland, and I live in Spokane, and I was working at the time, and it's a big deal. Logistically, it's a difficult ride to get there with all
That's
my
a
stuff.
long way. Like how long does it take?
3 days to drive there, and it's a week-long ride, about 500 miles.
Wow.
450 to 500. So the next year, we're getting ready to go, and we're doing our long-range planning.
Iowa's not a small state.
It's not a small state, and it's not flat, contrary to popular
It seems
belief.
like it when you look at the map.
Yeah, when you pedal across it, it's less so.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So we're doing our long-range planning 2 days before we're about to leave, and it's about 10:30 at night, and we're on the phone, and we're going through our packing list, and we're kind of wrapping up, and he finally goes, you're gonna bring a stereo trailer, right? And I went, because it's my child, and I do whatever they tell me to do. Yeah, I guess so. I gotta go now. So I hung up, and I immediately started building it. And I worked till, 1 or 2 in the morning or so, and then I got to go to bed, and I got up, went to work the next day, and at lunch I went out and got a battery that I thought might work, and came home and finished it that night, and the next day we left, and went to Iowa, and it made it all the way across the state. I was kind of surprised. Everything worked, and I had a good time, and I got back home, and I thought, man, I got all this work and time invested in this. I'll take it for a couple of rides, and people will yell at me, tell me to shut up and flip me off, and I'll take it home, take it apart, and it'll be done. And it's just totally the opposite reaction. Really? You know, as everybody just is so happy to see me coming. And as the years went on, you know, I have these little incidents that happen. And my friend that I ride with, we started referring to them as, and then that happened.
Oh, that's
so
great.
Just kind of a typical
what's
thing.
What's the coolest thing? Or some of them?
I'll give you just a few, and I will tell you the coolest one, and I'll start crying, but that's okay.
I will too. I cry at everything.
Yeah. So,
just ask my family.
Right. So I'll be riding along, you know, and one time I'm riding somewhere up the hill, and there's a group. As I come around the corner, I come into view of this group of 10, 12-year-olds. When my age, it's hard to guess age.
Yeah,
but kids. They're playing baseball. And as I come into view, they all turn their heads and look at me simultaneously, drop their stuff, and just start dancing.
No way. Wow. Where is that at?
And then that happens.
Where was that at?
That was coming up Adams.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
On South Hill?
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
and,
man.
I mean,
that's
it
so
just
cool.
When
would you otherwise get that?
You would not. So one day, and you know, I'm kind of looking at this going, this is all kind of fun, and it's sort of impactful, and riding through Gonzaga, I get a lot of positive energy.
Right, you were just in Hawaii, right?
I was just in Hawaii.
Tell me the story. You just as we got here, you were talking about you're at the airport, right?
Yeah, and there's some Gonzaga students in front of me, and we make this little connection. Oh yeah, I totally know the music guy. Well, that's me.
Because you ride through campus a lot.
Because I try to ride through as often as I can.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But you know, the bike's pretty heavy. The whole thing weighs about 130 pounds, so it is physically demanding, and I'm getting older, you know, and I keep thinking, man, how long am I going to be able to do this? And then that happens, you know. Well, I guess I got to keep going. Tomorrow's good for sure. So one day I'm riding through Riverfront Park, and there's this woman walking around with her 2 kids. And I ride by them, and the kids start dancing, and she just kind of looks at me with surprise, and, oh, that's so cool. I ride on, and I do 3 little loops there at Clinker Daggers, you know, and they're outdoor seating. I've been doing it for years. And so I went through and did that, and then I came back through Riverfront Park, and I ran into her again. And the kids are dancing, and she's just in awe. She goes, you must be the coolest guy in the world, which totally is not true, but it's always nice to hear. And I just continue on riding, you know, doing my thing. And then pretty soon I'm heading home, and I'm coming up Sherman. And I get to a stop sign, and a car honks at me. And I start riding, and I look, and the driver of the car waves at me, you know, and she turns and pulls over. So I ride over there and stop, and it's that woman with her kids. And she goes, I just want you to know what this meant to me. She goes, I was in Riverfront Park because yesterday our dog died. And when I woke up this morning, I had no idea how I was going to continue living.
Wow.
And when I saw you riding through the park doing nothing but providing joy to people, I realized I can do this.
Wow.
And at that moment, the question went from, how am I going to keep doing this, to how can I ever stop?
Right. Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
How long ago was that? Do you even remember? Was that months ago, years ago?
No, 5 years, pre-COVID, so 5 or 6 years ago, I suppose.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so
and
cool.
I haven't stopped.
That's so cool. So you grew up here?
I did. I was born at Deaconess. 1955.
I was too.
Yeah.
A few years later. Not that many. Wow. And what part of town did you grow up? What high school, as they say in Spokane, right?
Yeah,
That's the
I
question.
grew up right by Michigan University in the Valley.
Oh, okay.
And so I went to 𝙈𝙤, but I graduated at Central Valley School Districts, and I graduated from West Valley. I only went there my senior year, but that is where
cool.
I graduated.
And where did life take you after that?
I went to school in Moscow briefly, and my parents, the family came apart, and the financial support disappeared. And then you're spending your own money, have a little different calculus on your educational goals,
don't you? Though. And when is this? This is in the 70s,
mid 70s, 75.
Yeah, 75.
Yeah. And so I came back home and went to work, and eventually did go back to school in my late 30s at Gonzaga and got an engineering degree when I was 41.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you do in the meantime?
I worked in the car business, and I worked in. Then I decided I wanted to change careers, which was I got a book and totally worthless, and mailed out letters. I did everything, just checking off the boxes. Never even got a response. And then finally one day a friend called and said, "Hey, we're hiring out here at 𝙤𝙤𝙪'𝙫𝙚. You might want to come and." So I built a relationship, and they hired me.
At 𝙤𝙤𝙪'𝙫𝙚?
Yeah. And
That's cool.
I kind of worked my way into manufacturing engineering, and it was sort of like, this is what I should have been doing my whole life.
Oh, so that's when around your 40s, you went...
Late 30s, mid 30s.
So you started working at 𝙤𝙤𝙪'𝙫𝙚 going, oh,
when I was about 30, yeah.
This is the place for me.
This is the place.
What did you love about it? Obviously you built that incredible machine
just
overnight.
Doing that,
Just tinkering.
That's what it was.
Building stuff.
Oh, we have a problem here and we need a solution. I'm your man.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I need to remember this and call you more.
So, right. As
You should
𝙤𝙤𝙪'𝙫𝙚
not have told me this, man.
As 𝙤𝙤𝙪'𝙫𝙚 went from 3,600 employees in Spokane to 50,
Right.
I was one of the casualties. But under
course.
NAFTA, which was a well-crafted program, they understood that there will be people that this has negative impacts on, and we need to take care of them. So they came up with a really outstanding retraining benefit.
Huh.
And so I studied it carefully and went down. It was administered by Washington's Unemployment Service because we're in Washington. I went down and had a couple conversations with them and realized that if I could figure out a way to survive, I could do this. I could go back to school and get an engineering degree. And so that's what I did. And I was just totally clueless as to what that would take, And I thought, I'll just start with freshman level math. Right.
Whoa.
Freshman level math in an engineering program is calculus.
Yeah. Right.
What I came to realize shortly after I started math was that I had barely had college algebra. And so it took me a year just to be ready for freshman level math.
At Gonzaga?
This was at SFCC.
Okay.
And then I transferred to Gonzaga. So I went for 5 quarters, just calendar-wise, slightly over 12 months.
In the 80s there?
Would have been 90s because I graduated in 97.
Okay.
And I did the whole thing start to finish in 49 months.
Wow.
Which, I got a wife and 3 kids at home. And
Oh, wow. So what was that like?
I'm not sure I can answer that. People would all the time go, "You're doing what? Isn't that hard?" And I truly did not have an answer for them. It doesn't matter if it's hard. It's what I'm doing.
Right. No,
And so I just ground it out.
Yeah, it's not,
Yeah, it might be
just the
hard. It
thing in
might be
front of you.
easy. It's possible, and I'm doing it.
Right. Somebody else has done this. I can do this.
Yeah. And so I
That's the right
grounded
attitude.
out and got a job in engineering and worked another 20 years or so. And
Where did you work for that?
I went to work for a company called LineSoft, which at the time
LineSoft,
was
sure.
20 people or so.
Yeah,
I think I was number 22, and it grew to over 250 or so, and 2 or 3 offices around the country. And then Itron bought the company.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what happens when
The
companies get bought.
excitement was less intense.
Sure. Well, yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, but it was all in all, really great job and career, and
Wow, that's amazing.
traveled around a bit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So then, when did the bike stuff happen in terms of that? Was that during your work time, or is that like I'm done? Could you retire? Or
No. That was an unplanned job separation that
Okay.
led to retirement. But yeah, I was working at the time, and so this one will be my 13th 𝙈𝙤𝙪. So I started, I think, in 2008 or 9. All those patches on my basket.
Yeah.
Whatever is the earliest.
Those
one
are
is when
all
I
from that
started.
ride across. So you
Yeah.
rode that. Are you going to ride this actual bike across for this one? in
Yeah,
July?
it'll be my 8th or 9th time on this one. And I actually have an older 𝙈𝙯 that I fixed up when I was in college that I rode once or
So what do you
twice.
do now?
I ride around town.
You're kind of you're kind of happy.
Yeah,
Doing what
yeah.
You retired, really. Right?
I'm definitely retired now.
Okay.
So I'll be 68 in a week or so.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, this
And
riding
I
thing.
skied.
You look great.
Oh, thank you.
60.
I skied 58 days last season. That's really my main sport, is alpine skiing.
Where do you ski? Where's your favorite
Mount
mountain?
Spokane.
Yeah.
And
it's
not
got-
because it's convenient. It is my favorite mountain of the local area.
Why is that?
I've been doing it for a long time, and I'm kind of give me a steep pitch and no cat track. And in terms of that, there's not another local mountain that compares.
Wow. Anywhere else you've skied that you've loved around the country?
Not really.
You're happy with that one?
I'm pretty happy, make it white and on a steep pitch, and I'm good to go.
Ever snowboard, or is it only
I
skis?
have never snowboarded.
What?
And
An adventurer like you?
I know it. It's
What?
not that I don't have I don't have anything against snowboarders. It's not that I'm uninterested. I'm just old, and it's a dangerous sport.
Yeah.
I was on the ski patrol for a while. And
Okay.
Snowboarders are what keeps the ski patrol in business.
Okay.
And so, eventually, I'm a relatively careful person, kind of. So I like to think I am. And I'm just too old to be a beginner at a dangerous sport.
Wow, that's good. I mean, what I love about the bike is beyond, just the whole experience of seeing you just come out of nowhere, which is exactly what that lady saw. Pure joy.
Yeah,
right?
just rolling up on
But
you.
the music, what do you got playing today, and how do you select that? Because you're sort of a DJ at the same time. Am I right about this?
You are absolutely correct, and I'm glad you brought that up, because
That's a big part of this.
It's a big part of it, and I've always wondered, why is it that I get such it's not 100% positive reaction, but it is really close to 100%.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered why that is, and I've given it a lot of thought. I've been into music for a long time. Since I was a kid, I go lots of shows. And I'm into pretty obscure stuff. I'm primarily a blues guy, but I'll take anything that comes from the heart.
Yeah.
But what I have realized, that if you play the hits, then that allows people to instantly recall something from their past.
They go back to that
And
memory.
music is very powerful. It's an incredibly powerful communications medium.
It's a memory.
It's very deep.
Yeah, you're taken somewhere. That
And
you
so
remember.
when you
Correct.
hear a song from your past, it instantly recalls a memory. It might be good, it might be bad, but it's instantaneous. So my stuff is pretty obscure. You've probably never heard a song that you've heard somewhere else. And if you play something that they've never heard before, they must pause and mentally engage before you can form an opinion.
It's true.
So by the time that happens, I'm
You're
a block
gone.
away. 30 seconds, I'm in and out of your life.
Wow, that's true. It's a blip.
But it does cause people to stop and think. They don't just have an instant, I hate that song. They have a,
What was that?
well, that's a straight, that's another one.
What
I'm
was
riding
that?
to the store one day, and there's 2 adults standing there and a little girl. And the adults, clearly one of them lives there and the other one is visiting, and they're saying goodbye. And as I ride by, I hear the one guy go, well, that's the strangest thing I've seen all month. And just as I'm going out of earshot, I hear the little girl go, oh, he rides by here all the time.
That is hilarious. Wow. So what are you playing today? What's the music?
That was, I believe, Billy Stoops and the Dirt Angels that was playing. One of his bands, for sure.
So what's the coolest concert you've ever been to, considering you must have done a lot of that in your day?
Oh, man. I have
maybe
gone
that's
to
not.
hundreds of concerts.
Favorite one and favorite venue?
Boy, my favorite venue, I would have to say, is the Sunbanks Resort on Banks Lake.
Oh, wow.
89 short miles from my driveway to my parking spot at my
Have you ridden your
campsite.
bike there?
I have not ridden my bike
That might
there
be a little
because I
steep.
go there, for 4 days and camp.
Oh, right on. Banks
They
Lake.
they have a couple festivals every year. This year they're having 4 festivals.
Is that right?
And they are always, it's a festival that is fundamentally different than any other festival you've been to because it is not sponsored.
Interesting.
So it is put on by a musician, that guy who was just playing as I rode in here, just coincidentally. And musicians have a little different take on music, they understand it differently than fans do. And so the quality of musicianship there is really amazing, but it is a non-sponsored event, which means there is no fence between you and the musicians, and the guy who puts it on tells the bands, hey, if you aren't willing to hang out with the crowd, don't come here.
Right. Right.
And so it's really a unique event. You'll walk around at night and the band you just saw will be around somebody's campfire jamming.
Wow. So how often is this?
It's
just open to anybody?
It was 21 and over. There were 2 festivals a year, and last year they added a country music festival, which will be this weekend this year. And then they're also adding Americana music. It'll be cover bands, but cover bands that would be very interesting to go see.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's later in the fall.
Wow, that's cool.
Do
you know who Alan Stone is? He's a local guy that has kind of made it big really started out as a YouTube kind of sensation.
Oh, really? Oh, yes, I do. I do know who he is, from Colville.
From Colville,
Yeah.
correct. And he lives in South Hill.
Oh, really?
Not far from us.
Yeah.
And he has every summer he has his family. I think he calls it like the family reunion, or the Stone family reunion, or something like that, out at Zephyr Lodge, which is out in Liberty Lake. Which Dan Spalding has turned into an amazing place. Dan plays with him and his band locally, and puts that on. And my wife Johanna and I went a few years ago, and it was just really cool. And that was the same experience. He just, there's only a few people that get to go, and he's kind of opened it up. I think maybe a little more people go now, but we took our teardrop trailer in and parked it, and every time I see him at the store or something, he's like, you're the teardrop guy,
Yeah. Well, you're not the teardrop guy. You're the vintage.
The vintage teardrop. I do have a cool. Yeah.
The teardrop guy is one of millions. The vintage is one of dozens.
Thank you. You've had a chance to see that one. Yeah, and it's for people that don't know, it's a 1936 K-Craft cruiser. It was the
cruiser
first,
with a K.
With a K. Yes. How did you know? Cruiser.
I was
and
just
craft,
hoping.
K-Craft cruiser, and it was the first teardrop ever made.
Ah.
And this was like model number 20 or something, and so it
was fairly well developed.
It was the first time they ever built it, and this lady in Hope, Idaho, who had worked in hospice, I think, her whole career. Took a break from that, and sort of like you, was like, I need to do something with my hands, after that kind of heavy career she had.
Sure.
And she started restoring stuff, and she restored this incredible teardrop trailer and made it all black and, leatherette, kind of really cool. You've seen it.
I've seen it. It is very cool.
She rebuilt that entire thing to really back to its original stayed. I mean, she took some liberties. I don't think it was originally black or whatever. But
Yeah.
But it is just the coolest thing. We've had it, I think 6 or 7 years now. And we're the first owner of it, and we've kept it. And it's just been that same kind of pride that she put in that. We were like, we just don't want to screw this up. We don't want to ruin this thing because she put so much into it. But yeah, and you saw that because we have our family kind of
party,
our
which is a wonderful.
It's a great thing. Yeah, we shut our street down. We have like the block party on our street there up kind of near Manitou, and we all hang out and close the stuff. And you always ride by with your bike and bring bread and make stuff. Like
I was going to bring.
What
you
did you
bread
bring
today,
here
but I was a
today?
little lazy.
I mean, this is
that's a lemon meringue pie.
I'm hoping this starts a trend with all of my podcast guests. Podcast guests.
Yeah,
top that.
Listen up. Yeah. So I got up this morning and I was going to bake bread and bring you a loaf of bread,
which
and
I love.
make a pie, which. Bread's gonna have to wait. I'll bring it by your house.
So that is why do you do that? That's so nice of you. Like nobody does that anymore.
That's why I do it, I guess, because nobody does that anymore, and I think they should.
They should.
And if you want to lead by example, not by admonishing.
Right. Oh my gosh, that is just so. I mean, I'm gonna have one. This crew will devour that.
Good.
I just think that's so nice. And we're drinking now. Here, cheers.
We are.
We're drinking Amador whiskey. Now you talk. I asked you want some whiskey because I always ask everybody that because this is my favorite whiskey. What do you think? Give me the taste test of Amador.
Has an excellent. I love the nose, whatever they call it, the smell that I get to take, and it has an excellent flavor and a very good aftertaste.
Right, not bitter,
not bitter at all,
not too sweet.
It just kind of keeps coming at you. Hey, you try this chapter.
Well, to Amador.
Yeah, indeed.
I'm shamelessly wanting them to be a sponsor. I don't know if I really want sponsors, but if I wanted one, wouldn't that be the coolest one?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, they make it in Napa.
Oh, okay.
Oak wine barrels.
Yeah.
And it's got a little honey kind of taste to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. There's a complexity to it. So that was aged in a barrel that had wine in it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which I think gives it a little something.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Super good. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's my favorite. So all the stuff on your bike.
Yeah.
Take me through what's on there. Because we filmed a little bit of it. Wow. But, I mean, there's probably stories to all that stuff that you've gotten through the years. Because you've ridden this bike how many years now?
12, I think.
Wow, it seems longer than that. Really? Maybe.
No, I think
I mean, I've probably only known you 6 or 7 or 8, maybe.
I think I bought it in 2010. It
okay.
was a perfectly rideable Schwinn American 1962 that probably spent its first life in a factory somewhere, some maintenance guy who fixes millwright probably. They're pretty common in big factories. And so it wasn't really very rusty. It was perfectly rideable. The little tab that mounts the chain guard was broken off it, and that was about the only thing wrong with it. And I think I paid about $200 for it, and then immediately took it apart and started spending $400 a month on it for a few years.
You're like my brother. He does that too. Tinkerer. You guys are tinkerers.
Tinkerers, and that has been heavily
Yeah, he's got a sailboat. Same thing.
Okay.
It's like, I only got it for $600. Yeah, how much you put in it?
And then I just keep adding stuff to it, and there are several things that I'll find stuff. The dice, the fuzzy dice, I found those riding down Southeast Boulevard one day. And
just sitting there.
Put them on there. Yeah, they're white with the black dots, and I thought, well, that doesn't seem very good. And so I got some industrial or engineering grade red reflective stuff.
Oh, right, you showed me
cut out 42 dots and glued each one on. What are you thinking?
You don't watch a lot of TV.
No, I don't have a TV.
That's why such cool things are happening.
Yeah, I'm out there in the world.
I swear to God, that's true. What's the weirdest reaction you've gotten? Or have you gotten any negative ones? Has
gotten
anybody
some
really flipped you off?
Yeah. And I've had people tell me to turn that damn thing down.
Oh, well, I guess.
And that, that was after 10 o'clock at night, and it shouldn't have been up in the first place. I know there are laws, and I'm generally law-abiding. I was riding through Manitou once, and I ride past this couple, they're my age-ish. And they're just walking in the park, and the guy kind of putting the stink eye on me as I'm riding by. Clearly he's not happy. I just ride by, and keep riding around, and I go by him again. And this time he's really glaring at me. Meanwhile, his wife, who's walking next to him, kind of moves back about a half a step and gives me the big grin and the 2 thumbs up.
You should have said, jump on, darling.
Yeah, come on, baby. I got room for you right here. Yeah.
Don't waste your time with that guy.
Yeah.
Well, that's so cool. I think it's just amazing. I did notice you have a shot glass on your bike.
Yes, it's the famous barbell from King Cage in Colorado. It's a little titanium shot glass that doubles as a bell, but you unscrew it, and it's actually about a half a shot, which is probably a good thing when you're riding your bike, because it's not like I need more liquor to pedal the bike.
So how far do you usually go? Is this every day? Is this once a week? How often do you do this? Because you appear out of nowhere.
I try
don't
to
want to
ride,
ruin your mystery, but
I try to ride at least 3 hours a day.
Wow.
So
you kind of need to get ready for Iowa.
Yeah, and I bicycle a lot. I kind of ride 5,000 or 6,000 miles a year. I assume I don't actually keep track of it.
Wow.
But it depends on how good the ski season is too. I put studs on in the winter.
Yeah, and
I've got a secondary, a slightly lesser stereo that mounts on the bike that I'll put on with the studded tires. Can't really pull a trailer
in the winter.
In the winter. And then I'll ride around, from Thanksgiving to Christmas.
I have seen you
caroling.
That's right.
I got about Christmas 20 Christmas songs I can stand.
I think I do remember seeing that. Wow. Where did you get this bolo?
I had to make that.
That is looks like you didn't make it.
Little Schwinn
it's
Chicago headband.
Cool. Wow. That just doesn't seem like you made it. It looks like it was
Well,
made
I just
for
bought
you.
a cheap bolo and a little epoxy and a couple of spokes and...
So, this whole experience, what have you ended up with a philosophy of life? You know what I mean? Like, you must have a different lens than...
It has changed me. You are correct. It has caused me to kind of be a little bit closer to my fellow man. And you realize, that everybody has a story and everybody could use a little help. And if you pause and engage with somebody and learn a little bit about their story, turns out you will be extremely willing to offer them help because, man, they deserve it.
Yeah, I know. I've been working on this a web series on the homeless problem here.
Yeah,
and we filmed at Camp Hope a couple of times. And
man,
that was
a world of hurt.
An unbelievable experience of just to meet the people that are there and what they were going through.
Yeah, you realize they're humans, and man, other than a couple of lucky breaks, they could look just like you.
That's it, and I think we forget that. I think a lot of people think, well, you made all those decisions, and that was your own damn fault, and not always.
Yeah,
not always.
I've
particularly
made things that I thought were good decisions and did not turn out well.
Right, and not because they were fault. Any misuse of anything, but life happens that way. Sometimes.
Sure does.
That's really cool. That's probably the thing you've learned the most, right? About just this journey.
Yeah.
On the bike the last 15 years.
If
you hadn't done it, what do you think would have happened the last 12 years or so? I mean,
I'd just be skiing and riding my bike.
But this is different.
This is different. This is riding my bike and engaging with the other people that you share this planet with.
That's right. And the when did you start making the bread and the pies and the stuff? I mean,
Boy,
that's
I started
so nice
making
of you.
bread a long time. probably 40 years
and
ago.
your bread is amazing.
Oh,
like, you
thank
probably
you.
should sell it.
Well, I've discovered that when you start trading money for things,
The love goes away. The taste goes away. It's true. No, I believe that.
So I'll just keep carving those 2 hearts on the top of each
That's
loaf
right,
and
you
giving
do.
it away. So about 40 years, and so I bought my sister used to own a bakery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was a pastry chef. And so I'm baking bread, and I go, sis, man, I need some bread bags. And she goes, oh, okay. She gives me a box of 1,000 bread bags. Well, I just use them over at home, but when I give a loaf away, of course, a bag disappears.
Right.
I just opened my 3rd box of 1,000 bread bags.
That's how much bread you've
So I have given away at least 2,000 loaves over the last 40 years.
Who are you? Are you the second coming?
No. I bake them 4 at a time, you know. So I always give away 1 loaf. And if I give away all 4, that's fine. I'll just bake again tomorrow.
Right.
I try to give away at least 2.
What kind of bread? You make the same kind every time, or you just break it up?
Usually the same. It's
So
whole
good.
wheat with flax meal and oatmeal in
Wow,
it.
amazing. So Kevin, who works for us, he was a student at Gonzaga, and totally was like, I know that guy. Everybody at Gonzaga knows that guy, and you become a legend there. And he said, hey, ask him a question for me. I said, what is it? And he said, ask him what he wanted to be when he grew up. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I'm still asking myself that question.
Do you have the
But to be honest, I don't really have an answer for you, but I can tell you that some of my earliest memories, I had a best friend when I was a little kid, and he was in a little different social stratum than I was, but you know, that means nothing when you're
a
6.
kid, who cares?
You're right. They were building a swimming pool.
Oh, yeah.
And I can remember that's how I met him, because I wanted to see this construction site. You know, I was just fascinated by how do you build something like that? You know, the diggers and the
Well, the
people
tinkerer in
moving
you, of
stuff
course.
in.
That's your
It's just what I've always
engineering
been.
part. Yeah. Wow.
And so I don't know.
You
when
wanted
I
to
get
do-
close to growing up,
You
I'll
knew
give it
you wanted.
serious
I was going to
thought.
say, what do you want to do now? Is the other thing. But I think you found your purpose. I mean, I think that's what everybody needs, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You were looking for
You
that
gotta have
thing
a
that
reason
made-
to get up in the morning.
right? And you must have just an attitude of joy. Just to begin with, or did that change? Did you?
I believe
did you
I
develop
do.
that?
You know,
You
I
always
learned a
had it.
long time ago that self is probably a bad source of unvarnished views about self.
Wait a minute, I got to unpack that.
You probably don't have an honest opinion about you.
It's true.
And so I've been pretty happy my whole life. I feel really lucky that I pretty much wake up with a smile on my face almost every day.
That's pretty cool. You're gonna live a long. No wonder you're gonna live a long time. I think.
That's my hope. You never know, but
What do you wish people would take away from just your experience when you drive by and people see you?
Well, I hope that over the years they'll not necessarily remember the encounter, but come to realize that every encounter you have with another human has a potentially large impact, and you should pay attention to what kind of impact you want to have on someone else's life.
Wow, you know when you've mentioned that a few times, and you've gotten emotional about it, which I think is really cool.
And I am again.
What is it that does that to you? What's causing that to happen?
Well, like you said, you know, you visited Camp Hope, and
Yeah.
it just hits you, runs over you like a truck, man.
Yeah.
There's a world of hurt. And I have had experiences where I realized that you have no idea when life will end. And you really need to kind of seize the day and
Cherish
do the
it.
best you can. Yeah, absolutely cherish it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm an Argentine tango dancer. As
Well,
well.
I did not know that.
Well,
Why, Grant? Why does that not surprise you?
Yeah, just pick the most difficult one and start with that.
There's 20 other things you're holding back.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to make sure we find out at least a couple more. Argentine tango dancer?
Yeah. So one.
You're not going to believe this, but I am not.
Well, certainly not in Spokane because I would have seen you.
True. When did this start? Wow.
We had a dance in Liberty Lake. There was this young woman who came on the scene. I think it was for her 21st birthday. She showed up at this dance studio, young, with her parents. They kind of, oh, is she going to do this? Is this going to be okay? I didn't realize it at the time. But it hit her like me, she was just smitten. And she's just doing it all the time and trying to get better and better. And we really love dancing with each other.
So she's your partner in this thing, kind of.
It's
or
a social
them, right?
dance.
Okay.
I try to dance with everybody. But,
So when does this happen?
It's a couple thing. And so we're in Liberty Lake having this dance. And I was the DJ, so I, brought the stereo and set it up. And the dance was over. I danced with her the second to... They're divided up in tandas, they're called, little groups of 3 or 4 songs. And then there's a little dividing thing, and you go get a different partner.
Sure, yeah.
So anyway, I danced the second to the last tanda with her. And then it was just so delightful. And then 4 more songs, and the dance ended, and I packed up all my gear. So I'm like 20 minutes behind everybody else, and I'm driving home on the freeway, and I come upon this just horrific car crash. And this car had there was a semi stopped. They had closed the freeway minutes before, and this car had just driven into the back of the semi, and there's glass everywhere, and as I drove by, I just looked over and went, there are no survivors in that car.
Yeah.
There is no way. And the next day I found out it was her.
Oh.
And it was just so tragic. But it makes you realize
how short it is.
How short it can be, and how you really need to embrace the life you have while you have it.
Right. Wow. Do you feel like she's still around sometimes in your
Her
existence?
memory affects what I do every single day.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I bet you can't not think about that.
I added, the service was at 𝙉𝙗𝙯 at Gonzaga, and I added a little loop through the 8 trees that are in front of 𝙉𝙗𝙯 that every time I go on campus I ride through, and I look up at the light, and if it's swinging, I know that Michael Ann is out there.
Oh, man. That's such a sweet story and a bitter story, right?
It was so tragic.
Wow.
But, her memory continues to inspire me to this day.
Yeah, I bet. I should have brought Kleenex for this whole thing.
Yeah. I got a shirt here. I just wipe it up.
Here, no, I got the whole...
Oh, look at you.
We'll put it next to the lemon meringue pie.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. That's so cool. Wow. Did you tell her, you get to talk to her parents at all about that?
I
must
did.
Have been amazing.
And in fact, I told you I do the 3 little loops there at 𝙤𝙤𝙪'𝙫𝙚. So one night I rode down there and did my 3 little loops through, and I rode to Satori Dance Studio to dance tango. And I stopped, and there, and Michael Ann was there, and I'm dancing with somebody, and she's on her phone. And when she gets off her phone, we're dancing, and she goes, I have a little story for you. She goes, that was my mom on the phone. She goes, they were at 𝙤𝙤𝙪'𝙫𝙪's having dinner. And she called me up, and she said, Michael Ann, I got to tell you, this magical human being just rode up on this bike with this music playing. He does 3 little circles and just rides away. And her response was, oh, I know that guy. I'm about to dance with him.
Oh, wow. So this didn't happen that long ago that you lost her.
No, I should have the date. It was in September, and I'm going to say it was maybe 5 years ago now.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Just the encounters that you have, right?
Yeah.
So when did you start dancing, and what made you do that? So, because a lot of guys don't dance.
Yeah, I've always danced, but never organized dancing.
Yeah.
And but I always had an interest in it, just never took the effort to do it. So I got a divorce, and my daughter went off to Portland to go to college. And I have an aunt and uncle who live there, and they said, "Hey, we're going to this jazz festival. You want to come down and watch the house?" Oh, perfect. I can go see Lane and
hang out there. That's a cool town.
Right. So I head down there, and this may come as a bit of a surprise to you.
Actually, Grant, there's nothing that you say that will be a surprise to me.
A freshman in high school. Turns out they don't have a lot of time for dad. So I'm stuck.
Oh,
down
no,
there.
they don't.
Right.
I have lived it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
So
the last thing they want to do is see their parents.
Right. Yeah. Who knew?
And they don't tell us.
No. So I'm committed
Dad's
to
never
taking
fine.
care of this house, and Lane doesn't want to do anything with me. What am I going to do? Well, there was this huge tango festival going on, and I thought, I'll go check it out. And I went to this milonga, which is what a dance is called, and I just sat there slack-jawed, and I went, I'm going to learn how to do this.
Wow.
And so the next day I signed up for lessons, and then when I got back to town, I found someplace here to take lessons, and just never stopped.
Wow. And
Yeah.
never remarried? A guy like you,
No,
I would think you're getting, all the ladies would be, where's that guy with a bike? He bakes.
The
He
image,
bakes.
Yeah, the image might be better than the reality.
Probably.
Or easier.
Probably
anyway.
any guy, actually, if you think about it. Any guy over 40.
I have a long girlfriend I've had for quite a while.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would hope so. That's cool.
That I met dancing.
Oh, well, there you go. I was going to say what the reactions that you've gotten, the negatives. Why do you think the few people who do get upset at you do get upset? Because I don't see anything about it that isn't. And you're right about the moment where you're not sure what I'm about to see. There's I'm a big follower or reader of Eckhart Tolle, who's I think a really interesting guy, and he's a philosopher and has studied all kind of has an interesting view of life, and one of the things he's always said is that we label things so much that we've stopped being present with them.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And he gives the example of a flower, right?
Like I mentioned, with the music you haven't heard.
Exactly. And that made me think of his description of that, because he talks about, at some point in the world there wasn't flowers, and then there was one.
Yeah.
And people didn't know what it was, but they must have been captivated by it and just completely present with it. It's the moment where you see an eagle fly by and everything stops, and you just don't know what to do. That's when you're really the most alive and present.
It's true.
And I think that is that moment that you must see when people go, what the hell is that?
Yeah. That's the
because
strangest thing I've seen all month.
There's no way to label you.
Right.
And there's no way to label that experience, and there's no way to react to it except to just experience it.
Yeah, it doesn't fit neatly into a large box with 1,000 other people.
Right, so you don't, in that regard, you've sort of stopped time for them, don't you think?
That's a good way to look at it, I think. Yeah.
You get that kind of look?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to pause here and experience
They do freeze,
this.
probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's true.
And I hope
I experience that when I do
that when they thaw and begin moving again, it causes them to go, that was pretty cool.
Right, but it does stop time and does stop you
Yeah.
from thinking so much and just be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, which is what I think all desperately need more of.
Yeah.
You know, I got a really cool little lake place up north, and it's so quiet.
Oh, yeah.
There's only 25 cabins, and the
Oh,
place is
perfect.
just you'll have to come up and kayak.
Yeah. Oh, that would be
Seriously.
fun.
Yeah, we'll be up this weekend. You should come. And it's just I won't say the name of the lake because everybody will go.
Right. Yeah.
But
so much for 25
yeah,
cabins.
exactly. No, you can't build on it, so it's all grandfathered in, thankfully. But it is so quiet. We'll literally be there, and there'll be no one on the lake, and there's no light pollution.
Yeah.
And it is an amazing experience to have the bustle of the life that I at least live, to
disappear.
Stop and just have nothing.
Yeah.
And I think we crave it. I think people really crave it. And I think you provide that. It seems like.
Thank you.
I mean, you do for me. Whenever I'm like, wait, is that Grant? Even that little, wait, is that, even if I know it's coming, it's still not something you see.
It's not. Yeah. There was a family walking by the house a couple months ago. 2 small kids, one in a stroller, one walking, and mom and dad. But as they walk by, the dad goes, I had just gotten home, and I'm hauling my stuff in. And the guy goes, "Oh, this is where you live." Yeah, been here since 79. He goes, "I grew up on Manitou Boulevard. I would get so excited when I would hear you come, and I'd run out on the porch and wave to you."
It's sort of like the ice.
And I just went, "Oh, man."
It's sort of like
so
the ice cream man, really.
A little bit.
But it's better.
I
think it's better.
Although I did last summer, Costco had ice cream bars on sale, and I thought, yeah, I'll throw in $30. I bought like 50 of them or something.
Just gave them away as you're driving around?
Yes, I hooked on a second trailer, put a ice chest on it and rode around the park giving them away.
Are you serious?
And I had so much fun. I went back and I spent $100. I gave away like 200 ice cream bars last year.
So now you've got to do that every year.
I've got to do that.
So you get more out of this than anybody else.
I believe I do. I think you are.
What do you get?
There. I feel a little bit greedy.
What do you get? What do you get out of this?
It is just
pure
so
joy.
satisfying. Pure joy. It is so satisfying to know that you've made a positive difference in somebody's life.
Yeah,
really
I mean, really, because I was gonna, one of the things I have down here on my list of questions that I never usually always get through, but I often do, is, where is it? Oh, I gotta find it.
Take your time.
Yeah, your favorite part of being alive.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I would never ask anybody else that but you.
Yeah, I have to say, as much as as important as the whole bicycle thing is, and as big a slice of my life and joyous slice of my life as it is, and dancing too, but alpine skiing is my thing.
Wow. So you get like 3 cool things. What else do you get to do? Is there anything else you're holding back on?
I'm a woodworker too. I have a cedar strip canoe that I built and a couple of wooden kayaks that I built.
Do you use them? Do you sell them? What do you
I use them. They're all beat up.
So my father-in-law, makes canoes or makes kayak, handmade wooden kayaks.
Yeah.
That are
cedar strip.
I think I don't.
Little narrow boards.
Yeah,
they're either cedar strip.
No idea.
Typically, they're either cedar strips or they're plywood kits.
I have no. It's
so my
not
kayaks
a kit.
are plywood kits.
It's not a kit. I mean, I think he does all this. He does the whole thing from scratch. And he lives in Lake Havasu, and he makes one a year.
Really? Yeah,
and he comes up to the wooden boat show, and he sells them here.
In Coeur d'Alene?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's
cool.
one hanging in Art Spirit Gallery.
I've seen it.
That's
I've danced there.
That's his.
Yeah.
Mark
I've wondered who the master woodworker is. Oh, that's incredible.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I know. It's just, Wayne Gretzky bought like 2.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And he's just the quietest guy and the most thoughtful guy, and he worked for the Forest Service forever. And
he is a master craftsman.
He and Johanna's mom retired from the Forest Service, sold everything they had, all their worldly possessions. You would appreciate this. Bought a sailboat and sailed it from San Juan's to New Zealand.
Oh, wow. A blue water boat. Oh, man.
32-foot sailboat. And they joined a caravan of like a race to Mexico, and then they all stayed and kept going for like 2 years. And and I was just
I've been to New Zealand. It's quite a ways away.
I mean, can you imagine that? I was just like, it's
a long ways on an airplane.
Did you have any scrapes? And they're like, oh yeah, we almost died 3 times.
Yeah,
like, easily. Just storms that we were just a bobber in.
Yeah, you're just
and
a
I'm just
cork.
like, you guys are the coolest people in the world. Like, how did you do that? You know, and now he makes these incredible wooden kayaks.
Oh,
you know?
I'm so glad
really
that I've seen
soft-spoken
one.
guys.
Incredible does not do it justice.
Okay, good. Well, Mark will appreciate because you would know, having built some of these, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he ever gets in town, I'll
I'd
have him.
love to meet him.
They'll be here coming up soon. But you guys would talk about that. I'll bring him over.
Well, if I make it to the lake, I will
we'll
definitely
bring him
a
to
boat.
the lake. I know.
Yeah.
And my brother has a sailboat, and he's like just kind of, he sailed some, but he's done it over time. But then they showed up, and he's like, "Oh no, these guys know what they're doing. They know the language, everything." And they're like, "You know what? This is a tougher lake than any of the thing we sailed." Because
lakes are weird,
Lakes are weird.
Yeah, the wind comes from everywhere.
Up quick, and you got to be ready on that little lake. There is like a lot going on, and we thought, oh, this is just everything. And they're like, no, we'll set it for a week, and we don't even move.
Yeah.
Like, unless you get a big storm or you're dealing with something on the high seas, you're kind of
you're just rolling along.
You're just cruising along, but they're like, this is a lot of work. Like, you know what you're doing more than we thought,
Yeah.
So, that's cool. The woodworking part, that's great. I'm sort of not surprised, but I'm sort of excited about that.
So I'm a bit of a woodworker, a bit of a metal
And you may
worker.
not want to answer this, so if you don't, we will edit this out. But you have there's a full moon bike race that you lead?
No, I do the music on it. They've had some guest leaders, and I actually did lead it on May 5th, my daughter's birthday.
Okay, well, that's when I talked to you last, and you said, I'm going to lead this thing.
Yeah,
so that's why.
So I've never done that.
What is that? And I don't know that we want everybody to know when it happened. You don't tell when people what happens because it's a small group that just
it's not. Have been the first guy who started it. He brought it from St. Louis, and it's the FBC, the Effing Bike Club.
You can say fucking bike club.
Okay,
it's okay. It's a bike club.
Yeah, that's right. It's a podcast.
There's no FCC rules here.
The fucking bike club. And you show up and ride on one, and that's how you become a lifetime member for life.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Once.
Yeah. So the first guy led 72 or 73 of them.
What?
And he started
in the 30s?
No. So quite a while ago, because there are 13 of them a year, and they've probably been going on as many.
Every full moon there's one.
Every full moon starts at one bar and goes. They used to always be at the Swamp Tavern, which is no more.
Right.
Rest
That's
in peace.
the Spokane icon.
Yep. And now they start at Soulful Soups, which has been there long enough to almost be an icon.
It is. Oh, it is in my book. That is
so
fantastic.
Every full moon at
amazing.
Soulful Soups, it depends on the year, but 7 or 8 they start and then ride an hour later, and they go to a no one knows the route except the ride leader, and then you end at a different bar.
Oh, so that's the secret part of it.
Yeah. You
so
ride from one bar to another.
Can you now retrospectively tell us where yours went? Because you could not tell me at the time. You're like, I can't tell you where this is going.
Yep.
And I was like, wow.
So I rode across the Gateway Arch Bridge, the beautiful, just architecturally
isn't that fantastic?
Stunning.
What a great gift to this community. Whoever did that. Bravo.
Andy Billig. You can thank him for
and
that.
There you go, Andy.
There's my political plug for you. We're moving on.
Super smart, though.
It's gorgeous.
It has revitalized that neighborhood.
It has revitalized,
and,
and that needed it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that work on that. Actually, David Condon and Ben Stucker both had a big part in that whole corridor there.
Yep.
Great work.
And you look at the revitalization that has spawned, it's fantastic. So we stopped there hoping to watch the moon come up, but it was a little bit cloudy that night. It had poured rain right up till the minute I left to go on the ride.
And then it magically opened up.
Magically
You created that.
I created
You
it.
totally did. I believe
So we came across the Gateway Arch, and then we went over a block and we started riding south, and I looked over at a guy next to me and I said, "Oh, are we riding on Grant Street?"
But of course.
Of course. So then I rode up the hill, and pretty soon I looked over at him and I said, "Oh, is this
Grant Park?"
Next to Grant School.
It's all about you, Grant.
It is. I'm leading the ride. I'm dragging the music.
Right. Damn right. Why not?
And then we ended down by the Sandifer Bridge, another lovely little
Oh, that's a great spot.
addition. Yeah.
Wow.
It was just a gorgeous night.
Well,
Normally we
that's
go to
so
another
cool.
bar, and this time we just
They're gonna-
went out in the woods.
They're going to make you permanent leader of that thing. I mean, why? Right?
I would like to believe I'm that adult and responsible, but there's scant evidence to support that
I don't know that I
claim.
believe that. I mean, fun and joyful. But I don't know about the.
Yeah, but it was really fun to lead the ride.
Well, that's
We
cool.
had a great
That's
ride.
cool. So that happens every full moon.
Every full moon.
So
yeah,
somebody
it'll be
has a
coming up
hankering.
this Sunday.
So everybody has a hankering. They just show up at Soulful Soups,
Yeah, yeah.
even in the winter.
Even in the year round, every full moon.
Like
Full
snow
moon
on the
happen in
ground.
the winter.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I have ridden on them with ice, and so that's why I developed the other stereo, so I'd still have music when I couldn't pull the trailer.
Christmas music. That's cool. That's cool. Well, what's your next music that you're gonna play, or the one that you haven't that you want to? And then we're probably done. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what else I can ask you. You've already made my day
Aw,
incredibly
thank
joyful. I mean, we got to eat some pie.
Yeah, right. So I was riding on 𝙈𝙤𝙪 one year, and I stopped for a burrito. I'll tell you two little stories if we have time.
Oh,
I
we have.
stopped
It's a
for a
podcast. We have
burrito
time.
at Blakesburg, Iowa. It's like 500 people.
I've been to Iowa, but I've
Yeah.
never been to Blakesburg.
No, probably not, unless you were a
Cedar Rapids.
unless you were a
was
biplane
it.
guy, probably not. But I'm there ordering a burrito, and there's this just what I would consider horrid music playing. It turned up full volume, so lots of distortion. It's just painful at the food vendor next to the burrito place. And I'm talking with the gal. I go, "Oh man, you must be loving this." She goes, "Oh, you don't know the half of it. This guy has 4 songs.
That's it.
That's it.
And they're all bad.
You got your boot scoot boogie, save a horse, ride a cowboy,
Yeah.
free bird."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Say no
so
more.
whatever they were, I wasn't interested. But I thought at that moment, I went, I will not repeat a song. And so that has been my goal on 𝙈𝙪𝙪 ever since, is to do the whole ride without repeating a song.
Whoa. So that's some pressure. You got to find some new
It's some
content.
pressure. Yeah. So I have like 1,200 songs on my
Wow.
playlist, and they kind of come and go. But
Still, favorite artist through your life. Come on.
Man, through my life. Well, I have to give a shout out to James Cotton, who's no longer with us, because that really changed my life. I went to a Steve Miller Band concert
Yep.
at the Big Barn.
Okay.
Remember, before they tore the Coliseum
The
down.
Coliseum, man. Oh, yeah, sure.
And
From Tacoma, Steve.
right?
Steve Miller.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You didn't know that?
No, I did
Yeah,
not.
all the way to
So
Tacoma,
he was
Philadelphia,
right.
Atlanta, LA.
It's weird. Oh yeah, you're right. So anyway, he was showing up, but he brought 2 backup bands, Boz Scaggs and the James Cotton Blues Band.
Wow. Boss
And
Skaggs
so,
is one of my favorites.
as a young psychedelics-eating hippie, I was well prepared for the concert. And James Cotton showed up, and I was just blown away. I had never felt music like that.
Wow.
And
I'm sure it
I
wasn't
just-
the psychedelics.
I'm sure it had an effect, but I have been a blues guy since that moment.
Really?
I mean, I just never even bought tickets to another rock and roll show after that, and I went to every single one that came to town prior to that.
Wow. James Cotton.
James Cotton, yeah.
All right, I'm going to check out James Cotton
Yeah.
now. He's
Yeah.
going on my playlist.
Good.
And I'll
good.
see what that's all about.
Oh, there is some high energy. That's one of his albums, in fact.
Wow.
And man, that just does not begin to
Wow.
describe it.
Wow. It was
And so over the years, I have realized that without the influence of Black American musicians, my playlist would probably have 3 songs on it.
Yeah. Well, no kidding.
Instead there's 1,300. Thank you, Black America.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it's true. And it's influenced everything in this.
It has.
I mean,
yeah.
it absolutely
Anything
has.
you want to listen to
we were really,
or do.
I'm fortunate to get to go to the Paul McCartney concert when he came.
Oh,
here.
yeah.
And that was amazing. And he talked, in the tributes that he played
you
to.
listened to the early Beatles? That was all black musicians.
Absolutely.
Wrote all those songs.
And he absolutely gave tribute to all of them. And
that's so
the importance
wonderful.
of that and how important it was. But to see that night, that was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
To see that guy.
Yeah.
And what he's represented over the last, 60 years.
6 decades, right?
6 decades, and just the impact that music has on all of us. I mean, people that, there's 2-year-olds that know the words to those songs, still.
Yeah, it is.
It's just
and even
phenomenal.
instrumentals,
And he doesn't even know why.
So powerful. If you want to get the meaning of a book, you have to read the whole book.
Right.
You can hear 3 or 4 notes from a song, and man, my mood's picking up already.
As they ride by on a bike.
Well, you get a little more than 3 or 4 notes. I'm pretty slow.
You get a few more. That's true.
Yeah.
You're just the right amount, right?
Yeah.
Just the right dose. Well, Grant Shipley, thank you.
Frank,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
being here and sharing your incredible story.
Thanks for running into me out here and just riding by.
You just drove by and I'm like, that guy's the most interesting guy. Of course he's got to be on this podcast. I mean, I'm not going to call it interesting without you.
Well, I've never
here.
been on a podcast, so this is pretty exciting.
I hope it's not your last. Or maybe I do.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I'll have the definitive Grant Shipley, the only podcast you can see.
Exclusive interview.
Grant Shipley.